PT on Ice Daily Show. My name is Eric Chaconis, and I'll be talking today a little bit about modern management of stiff and painful shoulder. So before we get into that, I teach our extremity management course as well as our primary care physical therapy course. And this week coming up at ICE, we've got a lot going on, a lot of courses this weekend, November 7th and 8th. The Fitness Athlete Live group is in Cherry Hills, New Jersey. Total Spine Thrust is in Charlotte, North Carolina, and then our older adult group is in Delaware. We also have a number of online courses coming up in the month of November. So Fitness Athlete Essential Foundation starts next week on Monday. And then I am taking telehealth with Rob Vining. He launches that course November 16th. And so Rob is just the expert in all things telehealth. I'm really excited to take that course. I haven't taken an online course in a long time, actually, so I'll be in that course as a student. If you're taking telehealth November 16th with Rob, I will be there with you, and super excited about that. And then our Justin Dunaway has persistent pain management coming up November 23rd. So very busy month. The month of November, got a lot of courses going on here at ICE. The following month in December, Morgan Denny and I are going to launch our primary care course again. This will be, I think, our 4th cohort, and we're going to start that one December 7th. So be on the lookout of that. If you're looking to get one last course in at the end of 2020, primary care is going to be a good option. We really believe this. We're trying to build momentum for this course. We just believe that the future of our profession lies in physical therapists being part of that frontline healthcare provider team and offloading the burden to the primary care healthcare team, in the United States is so key. So physical therapists having that frontline role, offloading a lot of the musculoskeletal care, but being able to screen and triage and differentially diagnose is all part of the skill set that we'll need in that practice setting. So that is exciting. So what I want to talk about today is the topic that we have coming up at the AMP conference in next week, the end of this week, this upcoming weekend. So Mark Shepard and I are presenting on modern management of the stiff and painful shoulder. And we wanted to present at AMP, we obviously planned this a long time ago. And we really kind of thought, what's a topic that we've both evolved tremendously in, and our understanding has really changed a lot. So when we look at sort of pre-fellowship and graduated from PT school and the way that we treated those patients back then compared to the way we treat them today, and then also considering the evolution of the peer-reviewed literature over that time. And so conditions like adhesive capsulitis and postoperative shoulder stiffness from any variety of shoulder surgeries you can think of, how do we treat those patients today? What has changed? And I think this is an important one to unpack, because the literature is really starting to build up some steam here. And we kind of centered around that STAR model, that treatment-based classification system that McClure and Michner published in 2016, looking at, really considering subcategories of patients that have shoulder conditions. So looking at sort of the stiff shoulder versus the unstable shoulder versus more the rotator cuff tendinopathy type of presentation. But really where it's at is a deep dive into the irritability. So the irritability that patient presents with is probably the biggest driving factor that's going to dictate what we're going to do clinically, right? The worst thing we can do is push somebody with a highly irritable shoulder and flare them up even more, right? That's certainly just going to slow down our progress and make it harder to have a good outcome. So I think the thing about irritability, and what we really try to highlight in this talk, is it's not like you start off with high irritability and they slowly, after a month or 6 weeks, they slowly get reduced to a moderate level of irritability, and then all of a sudden now you can start doing a lot of interventions. I think historically maybe it was challenging to figure out, what can I do for this patient that's not really tolerating most of the interventions. The exercises that we're giving that patient, they're just not tolerating them well. What can we do for them? And that's when we've really started to explore, all right, there's a lot of evidence when we look at other parts of the body, when we consider central sensitization and some of these other pain conditions, what can we do for them and apply it to the shoulder? Now, some of the things that we do that we just think are helpful, contralateral limb training, right? I mean, that's a big part of our extremity management course, because we believe that there's nothing better than when somebody cannot tolerate exercise on a given region of the body, Can I go to the uninvolved side? Can I teach them those same exercises on that side? Get that strength crossover, right? We're going to get up to a 15% increase in strength on the involved side when all we do is treat the uninvolved side. That's going to be well tolerated. But I think more importantly, they are going to learn the movement, learn the exercise, master that movement. And then when it comes time to integrate it, it'll into the involved side, it'll be that much easier. Obviously working above and below, so the regional interdependence model. Are there interventions we can provide to the thoracic spine? Can we manipulate the thoracic spine, the cervical spine, get that regional pain reduction for the shoulder, in that case, but also looking distally too. There's a lot of benefit to thinking about total arm strength and what can I do for grip strength and forearm and elbow flexion extension strength. There's a lot that can be done distal to the shoulder that can be helpful as well. We know that there's a correlation between your grip strength and your rotator cuff strength. So if you can't tolerate any loading in the rotator cuff or any specific shoulder work, what can we do to improve your grip strength and deal with those impairments and kind of make some gains there to hopefully then get crossover and carry over to the rotator cuff. So those are sort of some little specific sort of workarounds. But when you look at the literature, you're starting to see all this graded motor imagery concepts emerge, graphesthesia, two-point discrimination, right? There's a lot that we can do from a sort of a more neuroscience perspective for these patients. So in I think it was 2017 or 2018 in JOSPT, Sawyer and that whole group, Paul Minkin, Adrian Lowe, they were all involved in this case report that really gives you a beautiful framework. I'll post the link in the comments below, but a beautiful framework for this sort of hands-off approach almost to adhesive capsulitis. When somebody cannot tolerate a lot of manual therapy, a lot of specific exercise interventions, what can we do from a graded motor imagery perspective, pain neuroscience education, to help hopefully calm down the irritability for that individual? So that's a wonderful, it's a case report, right? You're getting a nice example of how this patient is specifically managed in clinical practice, which I think is really nice. So those are just some specific ideas. I think once we get through that phase and we're in that really challenging high irritability phase, then things become easier and a lot of our traditional interventions tend to work pretty good. And I'll also link to one of my favorite old PT on ices. I'm going to link the video below in the comments to this one. Some prone manual therapy techniques that I might integrate in the moderate or even low irritability case when we can kind of get after a little more. So we love prone because the arm is hanging, it's relaxed, they're at 90 degrees of shoulder flexion naturally. I don't have to fight guarding. I think the biggest thing to think about in all these cases is it guarding that's limiting their mobility, or is it true fibrosis in the shoulder joint? Is it more of a mechanical stiffness? Probably more times than not, it's guarding. So anyway, prone sort of affords us the ability to eliminate guarding, let them hang, let them relax. They're in this Codman's-like position, and then we do our techniques in that position like that. So I'll link that below in the description for you. So that's it. Happy election day. Let's have a wonderful day. Treat each other nice, and come out of this much better than we have been. So take care, everybody.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to the PT on Ice Daily Show. If you enjoyed this content, head on over to iTunes and leave us a review. And be sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram at the Institute of Clinical Excellence. If you're interested in getting plugged into more ICE content on a weekly basis while earning CEUs from home, check out our virtual ICE online mentorship program at ptonice.com. While you're there, sign up for our Hump Day Hustling newsletter for a free email every Wednesday morning with our top 5 research articles and social media posts that we think are worth reading. Head over to ptonice.com and scroll to the bottom of the page to sign up.